Okay, I need someone to explain to me how we go from really amazing style savvy games to whatever the heck this is. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nina Gabriella and today we are talking about the Fashion Dreamer series and how this game literally sucks. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the Style Savvy series. This game is probably one of my favorite games I grew up with. If you've ever seen or even played this game before, you know that this game was everything. I'm telling you, this was the OG fashion game. This game was amazing. Then sometime last year, almost a year from now, Fashion Dreamer came out. We're getting close to November when this game actually came out. Let's do a deep dive and see how the Fashion Dreamer series holds up today and why I think this game just really missed the mark. The reason why I want to talk about this game today is that there is a new fashion game coming out, the new Nikki game in the series. It is coming out for PS5 and I believe it's coming out for PC and I'm super excited. While I do want to talk about the game a little bit, we are going to strictly stick with Style Savvy today. I might bring it up a little bit towards the end and how I think this game is going to be way better than the Fashion Dreamers. But I hope you guys all stay tuned because in the future I do plan on doing a deep dive in the Love Nikki series, and once that game drops, I hope I get a chance to talk about it with you guys. Let's get into it. What is Style Savvy? I bet you're looking at this game and you're like, this is not even a Style Savvy game. Style Savvy is a game that originally released in 2012 for the DS, and I was so excited about this game. In this game, you play as a main character. Your job is to basically, you work at a boutique and eventually get to the point where you get to run your own boutique. You do fashion shows, you get stylized characters. This game, for some reason, it just really hit the mark. Even now when I play this game, being the adult that I am, I still find so much love for it, being able to go and pick different brands, different stores, all while being able to run your boutique. It's something that really appealed to me when I was younger. I love my little fashion games. Today we're going to just talk about each of the Style Savvy games and how it unfortunately led to, well, this newer one for the Nintendo Switch. But this definitely wasn't what we were expecting. Now before we get into all of that, let's talk about today's sponsor. We don't have a sponsor for today's video. Oh, really? I never noticed. While we don't have a sponsor for today's video or for any videos, I'd love it if you hit that like and subscribe button so that one day there will be an ad placement here. Trying to get to 5,000 subs by the end of the year, so if you guys like what you see here today, please help me with my goal by liking this video and subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. Back into the video. Starting with the first Style Savvy game that was introduced in the series was Style Savvy, or otherwise known as Style Boutique in Europe, and in Japan known as Fashion Girls Mode. It was originally released in Japan in 2008 and later in Europe in 2009 and then in North America. This DS game was literally all of the rage. Here is a little footage on my own DS. Sorry, it's kind of shaky and may look a little blurry. That's just because that's literally how it looks. I apologize for that. In this game, there were 8 locations where you could buy clothes, change your hair, change outfits, style, and you can even join fashion shows where you could win contests and do things to manage and run your own boutique. There were notable characters because it had a little bit of a storyline. Basically, you would want to make sure you win these fashion contests to kind of grow your following with the boutique. More people would come. There would be sort of like these little press releases where people would take photos of you to see what's new and upcoming. And there was just a lot to do, especially for me being as young as I was while playing this game. I think I was obsessed with this. And I will just say overall, like how the game looks visually, it was just very appealing. If you have to compare this to something like one of the Imagine games, I will say that being younger, I really like the characteristics of Style Savvy. I think some of the Imagine fashion games made me feel like I am more as if I was aspiring to be something in the Imagine games. And I think that is the point of the Imagine games. You are supposed to imagine that was you. But I think with Style Savvy being, you know, chibi-like characters, big eyes, lots of bright colors, lots of things to choose from, I really felt like I was involved and that this was going to be the store I was going to own. And to be honest, it kind of paved way for my love for fashion today. I wouldn't say I'm some sort of fashion expert, but I will say all of my styles and my preferences really, even going back to my old games, I realize are very similar to now how I dress as an adult.
Another thing that was very iconic about this game is just the fact that you had to play it sideways. To be honest, I think this was my least favorite part about playing the DS version of Style Savvy. I did not like having to hold my DS like it was something off of the Diary games. But I will say this game, I think, was just done right. It was one of those games that they didn't skimp out on really anything. You have a full boutique you get to do so much with. There's so many other little cutscenes, little places you can go, little characters you will meet. And even the way they did time in the game was really nice. Like, there was things you could only do at night, there was things you could only do during the day, and that was because of the time cycle of the game, which is what I really liked, because it felt like every new day of the game there was something new to do. And in my opinion, this was just the start of what would be a growing enterprise of Style Savvy, as the games, in my opinion, just kept getting better. The next installment of the Style Savvy series was Style Savvy Trendsetters. To be honest, I think I played this game more than I played the original Style Savvy as a kid, because this one just had so much charm and I love the story. In 2012, Style Savvy Trendsetters released for the 3DS. In this story, you come into town as a newcomer, ready to take on the fashion world as you begin to work at a boutique as just an assistant, until one day you actually start running it on your own. The former boutique owner decides to dive into becoming a stylist, so this game really has an emphasis on designing your own clothes, which I think was a very interesting touch in this game. I think this game was a great asset to the Style Savvy series, as in the previous game you could only style women's clothes, but in this game you're also working with men's fashion. They expand the amount of brands there are in the store, they expand how many worlds there are, there's a lot more designing of making your own clothing. There's just so much more to the design world that I didn't even know was part of the world until I played this game. This game also added a day and night feature, so now you can actually take a nap and wake up and you will be in night. So it actually uses in-game time as opposed to the previous game where you would actually have to go on during night or go on during day to do certain stuff in the game. They definitely made this game feel a little more like Sims-like, if you want to say it, or a little more Project Runway. In this game, you actually have the ability to customize your own apartment, so you definitely feel a little bit older in this game. You get a little more customization to do certain things. And being that this game was for the 3DS, this was the first game of the series that had 3D capabilities, so the things would kind of pop out at you and things would look a little interesting in the 3D mode. You also had more of an ability to actually customize the boutique the way that you wanted to. There was a lot more colors that you could choose from, as well as placement of where you want to put stuff in the store. I remember there being a little mode where you could take photos and then put those photos up in the store, actually, along with a bunch of more accessories. It actually was noted that the American version of this game had more accessories and new customization options than the Japanese version, so the Japanese version actually later had to update their game in a updated version that I believe that they could download as a DLC. But as you can see, for the most part, the Style Savvy Trendsetters game is very similar to the first game, just with a lot of updates that I think people really wanted. Being able to do men's fashion, being able to have your own apartment, being able to run your boutique and make it the way that you want to. These were all updates that people, I believe, really looked forward to having, and I think overall just made the game better. Similar to like a Love Nikki game, which are mainly for mobile devices, I definitely could see a lot of that in this newer version of the game with the story and be able to choose a lot of stuff. Some of the clothing options that they give you in this game are a little more out there. It's very 2000s and absolutely love it. It's amazing. I just love going back into my games now. You guys are looking at my old 3DS game from when I played this and seeing how my style has changed. Like, my boutique was all pink, the apartment I had chose was all pink. I just find it really interesting because in reality, most of the stuff that I had chosen in this game is all how I style myself now. Literally the all pink. If I had a boutique, it'd be pink. My current bedroom is all pink. I just love this. And can I also note that the music in this game was like my favorite? Why do I have this on loop? My friends were like, this is elevator music. No, this is the best Style Savvy music ever, okay? But the real question is, how do we go from these good games to the newest Fashion Dreamer game? We're getting there. Let's talk about the next game in the series. The next Style Savvy game that was introduced to the 3DS was Style Savvy Fashion Forward, or otherwise known as Fashion Boutique 2. It was released in 2015 in Europe, Australia, and Japan, and then later released in North America in 2016. Now this one has a bit of a different plot line to it than the other Style Savvy games. In this one you get a letter from your grandmother that contains a key to a little dollhouse, and then when you open the dollhouse you are opened to the world of Style Savvy with all of the craziness. So definitely a different premise than some of the other games, but for the most part it is like any other Style Savvy game. You meet Sophie, who needs help with running her boutique, so you decide to become doll size yourself and decide to help out. Now this game again adds some really cool additional elements in the Style Savvy world. In addition to running your boutique, in this game you also are given the option to work as a hairstylist and a makeup artist if you so choose. Now I'm not gonna lie, I think I played this one, I believe, the least out of the other Style Savvy games. I think it's just because it's a little overwhelming getting so many options. To be honest, as a kid I was like, okay, boutique, that's all I'm gonna do. Now I have to be a makeup artist and a hairstylist. I was like, okay, wait, that's a little bit too much for me. But now being an adult, I feel like I would love this game the most, to be honest. If I'm going to be playing this now, I think I would love it because you get so many options. Since in this little fantasy story you are technically a doll, you get a chance to sort of accessorize your dollhouse, and it accommodates those features of placing things just like you would in a little dollhouse. In the wireless mode, when that was still a thing of the DS, which unfortunately there is no more of that mode anymore, you were able to actually rent out rooms of the dollhouse to NPCs, which I thought was actually pretty neat. And you could actually use amiibos in this game, which is also a cool feature. You could use your amiibos to unlock certain different styles, and that would appear in your game. Like Princess Peach, you might get a Princess Peach sort of clothing, so that was also a new addition in this game. For the most part though, this game is similar to the other Style Savvy games. You run a boutique and you do fashion shows, you keep building up your boutique so you can unlock certain things, and that will help you progress more in the game. I do think there's a lot of charming features of this game as well that have been added. You are able to use your phone, again, you're styling your own designs if you'd like. I do like that there's so many cute little side dialogue things that you can do. Like there's a lady who will tell your fortune, there's somebody where, or there's someone where you can go and there's a cute cafe you can sit at, and that will give you some sort of idea for a new color you can add for some clothing options. Overall though, I think this is a great addition in the Style Savvy series. I'm not going to touch on this too much because generally speaking the game is pretty similar to the last one. But I will say I think this was my favorite game in terms of how many destinations you could go to. I believe there was some sort of like flight or some kind of train you could take which would take you to a whole different town or a whole different area, which I thought was really neat. That is something that like I wish I could do in Animal Crossing, but they haven't really added to. Like granted, in the New Horizons game technically that is now in it, but that I think this game was ahead of its time for the amount of places you could go and the amount of new stuff you can unlock. Playing this game now as an adult, I would say this would have had to have been my favorite one if I were to play this now, but back in the day I still think Trendsetters was still my favorite game. Let me also add that I think the dialogue in this game was also really funny. The fact that you get so many different dialogue options of things you can say. Granted, they kind of lead you to the same response regardless of what you choose. I think some of the conversations between the NPCs are really funny in this game. I think I remember having a whole conversation with a girl talking to this guy saying, you need to treat your girlfriend better because you didn't notice her outfit today. I was like, wait, what? Overall though, I think this game is so nice. It's a wonderful installment with the other 3DS games, but let's move on to our last Style Savvy game. The last Style Savvy game that was created was Style Savvy Styling Star. Imagine saying that 3 times. Style Savvy Styling Star. This 3DS game was released in 2017. It was released as New Style Boutique 3 in Europe, and it was called Girls Mode 4 in Japan. Now unfortunately, I do not have any actual footage of my own playing this game because this game was only released on the eShop in North America. So unfortunately, since the eShop is shut down now, as they are not using the Nintendo eShop service anymore, I can no longer buy this game. I'm honestly really disappointed because I feel like I would have really liked this game. Even though the DS was kind of trending out at that time, I think I would have loved to have played this. Even if I would have bought it on the eShop, I really think they should make physical copies of this, although I doubt they're going to. A lot of people say you can just jailbreak your 3DS or, you know, do something along that lines. I don't feel the best about doing that myself, but I think I will probably eventually go ahead and buy the Japanese version of this game and review it at some point. I do plan on doing a Japanese video game series at some point, so stick around as I might be including this game in there. But until then, using the power of the internet. From what I understand, this game is all about styling those who are coming into fame. You are kind of like a celebrity stylist in this game. You inherit your uncle's boutique, and after he decides to leave to pursue his own dreams, you realize that there are a lot of customers that come to your boutique as wanting to be aspiring idols. Each of the characters have their own little storyline, and you're supposed to help them on their rise to fame. From what I can see about this game, it's pretty similar to Fashion Forwards and Trendsetters, taking a little bit of inspiration from both of those. I believe this game focuses more on relationship building, so instead of little stamp cards from when people enter your store, you actually get hearts instead. Then I believe as you get more into the game, you are able to accept projects from some sort of, I guess, idol agency, where you get a lot more money by getting these idols ready for a big gig, like an event or even a modeling job, and apparently it helps you with building relationships with more customers. Apparently this was the only Style Savvy game where they didn't actually have any fashion contests, and I'm assuming that was because it has been replaced with sort of these concerts like modeling gigs, so your emphasis is more focused on helping them as opposed to helping your own. From what I was reading, there was also a couple style changes, like I believe they had removed the sporty brand and changed it for something else. Also, further reading, apparently there was supposed to be another installment of the Style Savvy series that I believe was coming for 3DS that ended up getting cancelled due to a failure of bigger projects. So this was the last 3DS game, which is unfortunately unobtainable to the North American audience because of the closing of these shops in March of 2023. So I will say it's a bit disappointing that we didn't get this last installment over here. I am so tempted to just region lock my 3DS because I need this game. While I can't share too much of my opinion of my thoughts on this game, I will say it looks really fun to play. I'm not sure how much I would have really loved the whole idol-esque sort of thing going on in the game. I do think it is a cool touch, but I also can believe that this sort of installment is what led to Fashion Dreamer with this whole image and brand sort of thing. I think this is where life started to be more focused on, the popularity of idols and, wanting to be a celebrity and being famous. So I think that's kind of why I think Fashion Dreamer turned out the way that it did. Not saying that this game was like solely responsible or that even the world was solely responsible, but I can see that time changes of just what the modern day was looking like. It's definitely seen in this game. Let me know down below if you had gotten a chance to play this game, and let me know what you thought of the game. But let's move on to Fashion Dreamer and why I believe it is one of the worst installments of the series.
Here's the thing, I don't want to talk about this game like I instantly hated it right off the bat. I really tried, guys. I have several videos talking about this game and how this game really disappointed me. I wanted to like this game so badly. Just couldn't find that much I really liked about it. If you want to join the race, I have a YouTube short out right now talking about this game, and if that video gets 100,000 likes, I will play this game for more than 60 hours. I promise you, I think I only have about 10 hours in this game as of right now, and that's just because I can't find a lot of enjoyment in it. If you guys like that video, I will play 60 hours of this game. So I'm not saying I want you guys to like the video, but yeah, as of right now, that's all I can really put into this game.
This is Fashion Dreamer. Ugh! Sit back, relax with some popcorn because I have a lot to talk about with this game. This game released in November of 2023 for the Nintendo Switch. Now right off the bat, I already know what you're going to ask. Why are you talking about Fashion Dreamer when it's not technically a Style Savvy game? And that's because they lied. Their marketing tactics lied. They lied to me. You see, the developers of Style Savvy actually created Fashion Dreamer, which is why I like to kind of rope it in with the same as this. And being that this has basically the same premise as a Style Savvy game, just under a new title, I really like to include it in this. Sin Sophia is the developer of the Style Savvy series and was also a developer of this, along with partnering with Marvelous, which is known for making some very beautiful games. But for some reason, this game just lacks the depth. The game almost starts off as if you were playing like The Sims. You play as a muse, which is your character, and your task is to kind of be some sort of social media influencer. You can create different outfits from your own sort of stylistic preferences, on top of being able to see other people's creatives and wear their outfits. You can create all of the little NPCs, these things called the lookits, which is them asking for you to make them a custom outfit. You also have like it's not really a shop, but a little area where you can display your artwork, and when you're on wireless mode, people can come and like your little store. What did I say? Kind of like Style Savvy, am I right or am I right? You live in this virtual world called Eve, and there's 4 different cocoons, which each has kind of a certain esque to each one. Each of the cocoons have their own certain theme to them. And the more popular you are as an influencer, the more of the cocoons you can unlock. And if I'm being completely honest, that is kind of all you do in this game. There isn't really sort of any boutique mode, there isn't sort of like you get to go to different destinations, or there's any really, I don't know, plot other than that. The plot is just to be a fashion influencer, and that's it. Now, I know what you're thinking, I'm talking about this game like it's the worst game in the world, and here's the thing, it isn't. This game isn't really that bad, but my issue surrounds the fact that this world, or this game, is, well, empty. Now, I'm not sure if maybe they just felt rushed because the Nintendo Direct was coming up and they just needed to, like, create something, but this game really feels soulless. I think for me, I was expecting a lot, being that this game I knew was going to be created by the same developers who made Style Savvy. I went into it with a lot of hopes, being that this is going to be a new, beautiful version of Style Savvy that we had never seen before. And in a way, it is. It does take a very modern take on what it's like to be a fashion influencer in today's society. We have TikTokers and YouTubers, and we have Instagram models, we have all that sort of thing, and this kind of just takes those elements of the real world and making a game out of it. And I think that's just one of the first things I don't like about this game. If I wanted to be a TikTok influencer or an Instagram model, you could do that. That's what real life is for. But playing devil's advocate, maybe this appeals to someone who wouldn't want to do that and would like to do it virtually. But that brings up my second point. This game is lifeless. There isn't really a plot, nor do they tell you what the storyline is of this game, and that's because there really isn't one. You can't really win any sort of fashion contest like you could in the old game. There's no sense of currency, so you don't really have to buy anything. It's all based off of your likes and your followers. And because of that, there doesn't really feel like there's a goal in the game. You don't really have incentive to keep going. The whole game just feels very mindless. I feel like this game would be great for maybe a very young audience, maybe a dress-up game, but if that's the case, I really would say just play Love Nikki on your phone. I think another thing I don't really like about this game is that I believe social media can have a lot of negative effects on just people's mental health in general, and this is a whole game that's focused on being a social media influencer, because it kind of makes it out to be this dazzling, amazing thing, like take a picture, like my photo, post it for the world to see. But here's the thing, it doesn't have any sort of consequences, whether that be good or bad. It's just you have to do it because that's the only thing there is to do in this game. And I get it, I like this modern twist of, being an influencer, but there's also not much to do in this game. Like, a big focus of this game is actually playing bingo. Like, I don't even really understand that. Like, that's like the only actual, like, mini game really in the game is bingo machines. You play a bingo game, you earn some tickets, and I guess you can put it in like a capsule machine and it unlocks some new outfits. But overall, the game just feels very lackluster. On a positive note though, I will say that stylistically speaking, this game is beautiful. The characters themselves look amazing. Like, if I had a Style Savvy game, an actual Style Savvy game that gave us as many customization options and the beauty of those customization options in an actual Style Savvy game, sign me up. The game kind of caps when you get to 10,000 followers, or I believe platinum status. But this game is marketed for $60 on the Nintendo store, and from what I've been seeing, you can really only get about 30 hours before you get to your 10K status. And there is like a diamond status, and I don't even know what is after that, but when you get to like 100,000 followers or 1,000,000 followers. But the more followers you have is how you can unlock the cocoons. And I believe after you hit 10,000 followers, there's no more cocoons to unlock. That being said, this game does have updates. I don't know if they're every month, but I have been seeing them pretty frequently on Nintendo, where they have these free updates of these like contests you can join and different little things you can unlock. But overall, I want to say this game plays like a mobile game. I'm really frustrated with the fact that I feel like as a style-savvy connoisseur who's been excited about all of the games, being that this is the first one for the Switch, I was really looking forward to being able to own a big boutique or have an open world type of game. Being able to have a boutique that has a franchise where I could just travel the world with my styles. There's just so much that I think they could have made that they didn't. They really just kept us locked in the virtual world, and if I'm being completely honest, I'm done with the virtual world. I come to video games to enter a new virtual reality. I don't want to enter modern day reality with high economy prices. And I think that's why I want to shout out the new Infinity Nikki game a little bit here, as I believe we'll be getting a release date very soon, because this is kind of what I thought Fashion Dreamer was going to be like. Now, I will say visually speaking, it is gorgeous, but like this is a game focused on fashion. Now, I don't have all the details yet, but I will say this game, visually speaking, looks great, and I believe you are some sort of stylist traveling the world. It is an MMO, so there are other things to do. I believe there's going to be some sort of fishing and hunting monsters and cooking and other sort of cute little things that you can do. I'm pretty sure this is going to be some sort of gacha game. There's probably going to be in-game purchases here and there. But I have to say that this is kind of what I was thinking that this new Fashion Dreamer game was going to be like, and it isn't. So now I gotta put my hope into something else. But talking back about Fashion Dreamer here a little bit more, I do think this game does have charm. I think it is visually appealing, and I think if I wanted something to kind of mindlessly play in the background, this would be the game. But the characters have no soul, they don't want to get to know you, they don't want to have conversations, there's no sort of dialogue or anything like that. Like, look at this girl, like, what, is she okay? Why do they have her looking like that? Someone get her some milk or some medical attention. But going back to the game itself, there isn't really too much I can say other than things I dislike about it. It gets old really fast. Yes, as much as I do like creating outfits for all of my characters, in a way it almost feels pointless. There's nothing really that happens more, and you don't even know really the reasons why you're making an outfit. Like, even the Style Savvy games, it felt a bit more personable. Like, you were doing it because you wanted to grow your boutique, you wanted people to keep coming back, you wanted to get to know the reason why they were at the store, what kind of outfit they liked, what kind of style they wanted, do they like long skirts or short skirts, and then as you continue to make those outfits, the stakes got even higher. You had press releases, you had fashion contests, you had so many things that kept coming into your game where it just felt like you wanted to keep doing it. Whereas this, it almost feels like I don't know why I'm doing it, other than the fact that I want a couple digital followers that don't really care about me or what I'm creating. It has this sense of like realism, but at the same time being the most blatantly strange game at the same time. Like, the fact that I can change my whole face to look like somebody else's face is just a little bit scary to me. Like, it has this thing in the game where you can like copy somebody's look it, so if they're wearing a certain style and you like it, you can also wear the same style. So at that point it almost feels like, well, what's the point of trying to have to create my own styles? I could just steal somebody else's. What's the point of me waiting for this new thing I have to get 1 million followers to unlock? I can just copy them because they're already wearing it. And there's nothing really to do in the Cocoons. Like, the only thing you can do is see these characters that are just standing around like it's nobody's business. You walk up to them and I'm like, hey, you want me to make you an outfit because you look depressed? And you do it, and that's it. You just move on to the next character. That's the only really thing you can do within the Cocoons. And that's why I say it kind of feels like a mobile game, because I can think of countless numbers of Barbie games I used to play as a child where I did the same thing, but I didn't pay $60 for it. It just lacks so many things, and I could probably go on and on talking about it, but I don't want to bore you or deter you from playing this game. Granted, I don't personally like this game that much. I'm not saying there aren't some appealing things to this game. It is pretty, you know, there are some things to do if you're interested in doing some sort of influencer type of things and want to, I don't know, try out a game that has that. I mean, that is what this game is for. But personally speaking, due to the lack of plot, the lack of things there are to do in the game, lack of personality, the lack of, well, any sort of accomplishment that feels fulfilling, etc., etc., I just don't think this game is worth the $60. I think if you could get this game half price, I'd say go for it. But as someone who really loved what the Style Savvy games entailed, I was a little bit disappointed with this game, and I think I'm going to have to just kind of think of these games as just two separate games, and hopefully they make an actual Style Savvy game one day. I think others might feel similarly, as I tried looking up to see if there was any, and I found this fan-made version, which if somebody makes this, hey, loop me in on it, okay? Because I know it's just a fan-made concept, but hey, I'm interested. Like I said before, Fashion Dreamer is not the Style Savvy we once known, but hopefully one day we will eventually get that Style Savvy game that we all knew and loved. I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit about the Style Savvy series, but this is a good 3 out of 10 for me. Leave me a comment down below what you guys thought about this game. I'm really interested to know if you like this game, would you play this game, and am I just crazy for thinking all of this? I'm going to be checking the comments very thoroughly, so please leave me your thoughts of what you think about this game down below.
That is everything I want to talk about today in regards to the Style Savvy series. I hope you guys like this little deep dive. While there isn't a million games in the Style Savvy franchise, I'm glad I got to touch on this a little bit along with some of the other fashion games that have slowly become popular because of Style Savvy's. To this day, this game is still one of my favorite games I've loved as a kid, and I hope to talk about it more in a more positive light. I am very upset with how Fashion Dreamer has turned out, but we're hoping that maybe something good will come of this in the near future. And leave me a comment down below if you want to see more of these, and I hope you guys like this video and subscribe. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!